Hey everyone, Pesmori here and welcome to Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. I can't believe they kept us here until noon. The Lord's Ball was already running well into the night, even before the murder occurred. You like nothing more than to catch up on your lost sleep, but you made a promise to Aster. This doesn't make any sense. Beatrice was with me and my brother the entire night. Right. You were there when she met with him in Steelwind. She couldn't have stolen the sword of spell-eating and murdered her father. I don't understand. Of all the people that could have done this, why would Steelwind suspect a blind woman? Mr. Cuthbert, could you defend Beatrice against these awful charges? I don't think I even need to. What? Beatrice is Ruby's client. I'm sure she'll be the one defending her. Again, nice dress. Well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. Sure, buddy. What's wrong? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but could you still investigate the crime scene? What? But we just said... I know, and I don't doubt her abilities. But Beatrice is a dear friend of mine. I'd like every chance of her to be found innocent. He said that she was a dear friend. They must know each other. Since she was a Freyga, yeah. But why would Mr. Mora, of all people, represent a noble? There are still a lot of things you don't know about her. I mean, she's not a noble anymore, so maybe? Either that or she just changed teams, you know? Hit escape, and then selected change team. Of course, I'll also compensate you for your service. Consider yourself blessed, peasant. A commoner like you would only dream of a job like this. Alaric. That little runt has a point though. A payment from the Crown Prince does sound tempting. I can't believe this. Celeste returns to the ballroom. She changed back into her normal clothes. Unfortunately. Oh well. What's wrong? The people in the coat room said they couldn't find my sword. They told me someone must have stolen it. What? Why would someone want to steal Celeste's sword? I mean, Garrick Pierce wanted it, so we know it's very valuable. Aside from your group, everyone else at the ball was an aristocrat. And aristocrats already steal from the general public, so why do they need the sword? You do recall her saying it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Someone must have stolen it because of its rarity. We can probably keep an eye out for it while we investigate the matter. This might all be some kind of mistake. I hope so. But anyways, where should we start first? We should head to the crime scene. I remember hearing that they found Lord Sega's body in his study. Let's go over there. Ah. A sword forged by a demon. Do you think the legends are true? Well, Black Clover seems to think so. Good anime, you know. Tyrion? Oh, sorry, I just got a little distracted. The Eye of Horus heresy can't possibly be demonic, can it? Are you still worried about your missing sword? No! Well, yes, I am worried. But I'm sure I'll turn up eventually. Ah, she's hiding the pain. You hope you're able to find the sword somewhere. Beatrice has been through a lot, hasn't she? From what we heard about her father's cold behavior, I don't blame her for leaving. She probably wanted to leave her old life behind. You two are similar in that regard. I can't believe the infamous Tyrion Cuthbert doesn't know how to do a simple waltz. You look pretty sad, you know, saying that. Disappointed? There was never any need to learn how. How about it? Want to try dancing again? Yes. We're technically on a job right now. What will Aster say if he sees us messing around? Aw, he can be such a buzzkill sometimes. Well, Tyrion, you could do it after the case, you know? How many cases have we done together now? I don't know. I lost count. A year ago, I would have never guessed I'd be the bodyguard of a lawyer. I really am glad to have you here with me. I have no idea how I'd defend all these cases alone. Hee hee. Aw. Just don't let that praise get to your head. Not. Come on, let her have it, you know. Just this once. I noticed you were teasing with Steelwind earlier. Well, she started it. By doing what? That's just so precious. That's none of your business. Okay. I never expected to see Wallace with Steelwind. I wonder what she'd choose him of all people as her aide. Maybe she's trying to copy us, an attorney and a mage. But she can already cast detect magic. Come on, that's not the only thing I can do. William Frege, which rhymes with Sega, doesn't sound like the best person, does he? Many people in Wyvernguard live in poverty, yet he's able to afford this extravagant house. Rich people. You don't live a life like this without hoarding wealth, without stealing from the poor. Tyrion. But like anyone else, even he deserves justice for his death. Unfortunately. Miriam seems different now. She's a lot less arrogant. She must be going through a lot. She unexpectedly lost her father, and her long-lost sister is being charged with murder. Harold. I'm just gonna say Harold Squareson or whatever, you know? Harold Squareson has to be some kind of stage name, right? Who would actually name the child that? Remember Tetsu from My Hero Academia? I think you're getting way too hung up on his name. Like, did he also name his children that? Does he have children? I hope not. He has a pet monkey. You're just making things up now. I wish. Oh yeah, the study. Yeah. Violins, huh? That can only mean one thing. You arrive at the crime scene and see the usual swarm of Inquisition knights. I wonder if they're Spanish. No one expects them to be Spanish. However, he also spots some members of the King's Guard. They must be working together since the victim is one of the 4 pillar families. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Mr. Cuthbert. I thought Ruby Tamara was defending this case. Prosecutor Steelwind approaches you as you enter the study. And she's followed by the pissy sissy. Wallace? What are you doing here? He's here as my aide for the investigation. You don't doubt his abilities, but you can't think of any reason why Steelwood would need his help. But you suppose it's none of your business. Anyway, we're here on the behalf of Crown Prince Aster. He hired us to investigate this case independently. I see. I'm sure he just wants to make sure the investigation goes smoothly. Well, if you're here on his behalf, I'll do what I can to help you. The whole situation is quite unorthodox, but your goal remains the same. Perhaps Steelwind can tell you more about what happened. The Black Clover Sword. Why would Herald keep such a dangerous weapon on display? There's value in remembering and honoring our kingdom's history, especially the bad parts. You hear that, Japan? Turkey? Anyways, the exhibits were heavily protected. Only a powerful mage like Beatrice could have broken into them. So even Steelwind considers Beatrice to be a powerful mage. Steelwind? Did Inquisition happen to find my sword anywhere? Your sword? I can't say I've heard anything about it, and I'm sure the Inquisition would have recognized it. Ooh, don't worry. I'm sure we'll find it somewhere. If it's not too much trouble, do you know how Beatrice became blind? I'm sorry, but I'm not going to discuss that. It would just dig up old wounds. Right. Of course. So she does know what happened. I was quite surprised to see you two at the Lord's Ball yesterday. Yeah, it's a long story. Clearly, you came accompanied by Beatrice Frega, which rhymes with Sega. She was the last person I expected to see that night. You sensed some disdain in her voice. I apologize that your investigation didn't lead anywhere, Miss McCoy. No, it's fine. My expectations weren't that high coming into this. But I still wanted to try, you know? If only I could have that much optimism. Is this the first time you faced off against Miss Tamora? No, I prosecuted her defendants before. I've actually had a better track record of convicting her defendants over yours. Damn! Nice work, Tyrion. But wait, really? I wouldn't let that inflate your ego though. You're clearly more picky about who you defend. What's that supposed to mean? You tend to pick defendants you're sure are innocent. I'm sure Mr. Mora does that too. We somehow always end up meeting each other, don't we? Well, it can't be helped. We work on opposite sides of the same coin after all. I mean, profession. Although, I am remiss I don't know much about you, despite our many meetings. Would you like to go somewhere together in the future? Oh. Hey, this is not Tyrion's fault, okay? It's not. But I know that Arya may be an upgrade for Aster, but Arya is a downgrade to you. Just to be clear. I'm only joking. I would never think of asking you out in front of your lover. What? Celeste is adorable. Celeste is adorable and badass. Okay? That's just perfection. Absolute perfection. You find yourself stammering over your words. And she's back to normal again. Hey, that's a new one. I wish she'd just like smile like this, you know, a bit more. Like a genuine smile. She looks very nice. And it is pure happiness. That's adorable. Wait a minute. Is this payback for last night? You're mistaken, Miss McCoy. I have no idea what you're talking about. Never seen Commander White since last night. He's currently collecting statements from the witnesses that night. I hope he's competent enough to do that correctly. Right. He hasn't had the best streak as of late. I think I'm lacking a lot of information about Beatrice Frege. From the way you are both acting, you and Asta seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No, I try not to pry into her business. I see. Honestly don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frege's eldest daughter and the former heir to House Sega. Former heir? About 5 years ago, she fled Frege Manor and went into hiding. Yep, none of us knew where she is, or whether she was still alive. Last night's ball was the first time in years that we've seen her. Dang, that was brutal. But if that's true, how did Miss Tamora meet her? Not that I doubt his skills, but I doubt his masculinity. Why choose Wallace as an aide? Yeah, shut up, pissy sissy. I have my own reasons for choosing him. And he does owe me. Yeah, if it wasn't for Miss Steelwind, I wouldn't be able to continue studying necromancy. You're still studying it? Yeah. She introduced me to Lord... that guy. He belongs to one of the few noble houses that are still allowed to study necromancy. Unfortunately, because of that, they hold very little political power. I'm just glad I'm able to continue. I'm just glad I'm still able to continue. What can you tell me about William Frege, which rhymes with Sega? He was a chauvinistic pig. I'm just gonna assume that word means horrible and probably sexist. Wow. That was direct. My family has been at odds with the Freges for as long as we can remember. My father is probably salivating at the thought of House Frege losing its head. Like, losing its head? Like, the head of the family, or losing its head as in its composure? Probably both. I wonder how Miriam's taking all this. I'm surprised you're worried about her. Last I remember, she was quite furious with you two tricking her. She may have been a pompous jerk, but she still lost a father. And now, her long-lost sister is being charged with murder. Yeah, she must be going through a lot. What can you tell me about the murder? William Frege was found dead in his room after the lockdown was lifted. Lockdown? From what we can tell, his throat has been slashed open with a letter opener. The cause of death was blood loss. Both of his carotid arteries were severed. Here's the autopsy report. Okay. AM. Damn. Okay. Scratch marks on the front and back, traces of illusion magic. Okay. We're able to find the murder weapon. Yeah. The murderer left it at the crime scene. It's a letter opener owned by the victim. Huh. The murderer must have found it in his room and used it. There was one strange detail about the weapon. The handle was completely shattered. We're not sure what to make of the detail, but it's as if something crushed the handle using tremendous force. What could have caused it to shatter like that? You mentioned a lockdown. When did this happen? 2020. I bet because of 19 COVID. You didn't notice? The Inquisition did try to be discreet, but everyone noticed the commotion Beatrice and the two princes made over it. I suppose you two must have been lost in your own little world, weren't you? Hey, it's a damn good world, okay? Well, anyways, you said that Lord Frege's body was found dead after the lockdown. That means something else must have happened prior. Supposedly, someone broken into one of the exhibits. One of the magical artifacts was stolen. So that was also a theft. Does that manor's lockdown system behave like the one in the Imperial Academy? The systems are somewhat different. Unlike the Academy, the lockdown only prevents people from leaving or entering the manor. So not all rooms were locked. But what about this specific room? This room does have an abjuration ward that locks the door and prevents teleportation in and out. And in addition to that, the system placed an anti-magic field over the manor. An anti-magic field? What's that? Anti-magic field is a spell that nullifies all magic within it. Ah, very nice. 10 feet, okay. Oh, okay. Cancel each other out. Okay. And the system somehow covered the entire manor in this effect? If you noticed, there are several purple crystals embedded in the walls. Ah, they're in the walls. Each of those crystals produced an anti-magic field during the lockdown. So no one could cast magic during the entirety of the lockdown. Not exactly. Someone could have used the stolen artifact to circumvent it. You mentioned that someone could have used the stolen artifact to get past the anti-magic fields. Which one? It's the demon-dwelling sword. I mean, sword of spell-eating. Sorry, Black Clover, you know. That was the demon-forged item that could possibly nullify magic. If the legends were true, someone could have used it to counteract the lockdown system. After Lord that guy reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room in the manor to try and find it, but it was eventually found in Beatrice's bedroom. That led them to believe that she had stolen it. Correct. The King's Guard moved to arrest her, but Prince Aster ordered them to step down. Didn't look like she was planning on fleeing, so they planned to wait until after the party ended. But then they found Lord Frega's body. Correct. We assumed she'd used the stolen sword to nullify the magical locks and break into Lord Frega's study. But if she had the sword, why wouldn't you? So much for the grammar update. Why wouldn't you use that to commit the murder? We're not entirely sure. We have a few working theories. She might have wanted to prevent the theft from being tied to the murder. Or perhaps she was more confident. She had more confidence wielding a knife over a sword. Regardless, it's clear the sword wasn't the murder weapon. So she's not being implicated in the murder, but also stealing the sword. But what possible reason would she have to do either of those crimes? Revenge? Since the body was found here, was Lord Frege locked in his room during the lockdown? Nah, probably not. Yeah. Yes, William Frege knew that this room should be the most secure. He was supposedly in a bad mood and locked himself in this room for most of the night. He refused to let anyone into the room. The only person he spoke to after that was his daughter. His daughter? You mean Miriam? No, another daughter. Oh, Leafy? Okay, let's see. I'll just say Leif. Yep, the middle child. She tried to tell her father about the theft, but he was apparently preoccupied with something else. He said he wanted to stay in his study for the rest of the night. When this happened? Shortly before the lockdown, a little after 1 AM. I see. That's Leif? She looks adopted. Leif must have been the last person to see Lord Frege. You should speak with her. By the way, do you have a map of the manor? I do. Would you like a copy? Please and thank you. Okay. Wow. Were there any other witnesses aside from Leif who saw Lord Frege that night? Perhaps someone who heard what happened. There was someone who heard the altercation, but it was quite obscured. A servant was trapped in the storage room nearby. There was an air vent that connects this room with the storage room. He supposedly heard sounds of a struggle through the vent. What did this witness hear? Sounds of a struggle before he lured Lord Frege choking on his own blood. When the lockdown was lifted, he informed the King's Guard of what he heard. That's when they discovered the body. I see. Who was the servant? Ah, Jan Hughes. Mr. Hughes is here. You never expected to see him here, of all places. But if he heard the altercation, you definitely want to speak with him. Something tells me he's just there to save on resources. I did hear this game was like underfunded, so they had to work with what they had. Great job, by the way, guys. I think I'm lacking a lot of information about the defendants. From the way you were acting, you and Asta seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No. Try not to okay, yeah. Honestly, don't expect much. Wait, okay, whatever. But Beatrice, okay. At this, okay. He ignored any attempts we made to contact her. She even used magic to prevent us from scrying her. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Sounds like frying. Last night's ball was the first time in years that we've seen her. But if that's true, how did Miss Tamora meet her? Would you happen to know why Beatrice was meeting with her father? I have some ideas, but none concrete. I was hoping you could tell me. Tamora and Beatrice have both refused to disclose any of their meetings. Damn it! What could that meeting have been about? Speaking of which, I haven't seen Tamora anywhere. As the defendant's attorney, I would have thought that she'd be here to investigate. That is strange, but Miss Tamora always had her own way of doing things. Perhaps she's using a different strategy. Anyways, I imagine she met with her father to request financial aid. Why do you say that? I have it on good authority that she was deeply in debt. That's the only reason why she would speak with her father after all these years. It's also why I believe she murdered her father. You think she murdered him for his inheritance? It's the only motive that makes sense. Alright, that's a lot of work. That's a lot to work through here. The prosecution will try to assert that Beatrice committed the murder. But what would she have needed to carry out all the things described? Ooh! Thinking time! So the first thing we need to do is narrow down the time. Okay. Yes. I didn't read the other one, I misinput. Leaf Frege saw her father alive before it was activated. Entered the study, and she watched as the clock engaged. I did not expect it to be right, but okay. Right. The murder must have occurred during the lockdown. But that means the murderer somehow got past the wards that protected the room. The wards block teleportation, and they magically lock the only door leading to this room. They believe that Beatrice used the demon-dwelling sword to get past them. The sword of spell eating. I'm sorry. It's Black Clover, okay? Black Clover. Regardless of what they think, we need to assume the murderer used some sort of magic nullification to get into the study. But not necessarily true, is it? What if the murderer already entered the room before he locked it? If they were in the room when William locked it, they would have been trapped here until he decided to leave. Not only that, they would have been discovered the moment the guards entered his study. Maybe they used some kind of invisibility, or teleported away the moment the King's Guard unlocked the door. Teleportation didn't occur. We didn't find any traces of conjuration magic. What about Celeste's theory of an invisible assailant? I'll admit, we did find traces of illusion magic, but the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding. Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that? Of course, it's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it's cast on. So mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see through invisibility. So we know for sure they weren't here before or after. This means whoever committed the murder used some way to bypass the wards. Okay. The next thing is the murder weapon. Where did the murder weapon come from? It was a letter opener presumably owned by William Frege, which rhymes with Sega. The murderer probably used it to avoid leaving evidence that incriminated them. Really? Okay. Right. The letter opener came from this room. Wasn't it kinda said earlier? Though... whatever. The murderer probably wanted to avoid using a weapon that would have implicated them. So they decided to use it and leave it here after the deed was done. But that leaves a glaring hole in the case. And what would that be? What is flawed? Arya Steelwind is completely blind. Yes, that's definitely it. Beatrice Frege is completely blind. Even if she were able to somehow break into a highly guarded exhibit, how did she slip past the guards and enter Frege's study? Furthermore, how did she locate the letter opener if she couldn't even see it in the first place? None of it makes sense. Committing this murder unseen would have been a tall order for anyone. I can hardly believe a blind person did all this. You do well not to underestimate her, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You don't know her as well as I do. She's far more capable than you realize. She must be the one behind this. I suppose I wouldn't know, but the idea that she did this is still ludicrous. I suppose I can't change your mind about that, because your argument is weak. But I have to ask you a question. What would you do if you discovered that one of your clients was guilty? What? I mean, I tend to have an insight into these sort of things. That would never happen, sure. I've already seen your uncanny ability to read people, but I'm only hypothetically speaking. So, what would you do if they were guilty? I suppose I'd withdraw and tell them to find another lawyer. And if no one else would represent them? I don't know. It would be a hard choice for me. But I would never be able to represent them if I knew the truth. I just can't stand by and let a murderer escape. I see. Why did you ask? No reason. Okay. Anyways, she's made her stance clear. You still have a long lease to follow up on. You should move somewhere else. Huh? What's wrong? You can't see it, but the entire room is covered in traces of abjuration magic. Everything is glowing white. Oh, so it's basically a flashbang. Right, that makes sense. There are several anti-magic fields covering the manor. Those fields left traces of abjuration everywhere. I won't bother showing you the traces of abjuration I find while we're here.
Repario Arcanum!
Illusion magic. They say the assailant must have used some kind of magical disguise. Or they turned themselves invisible. A large mahogany table at the end of the room. Lord Frege must do his work here. The pool of blood and the chalk outline must be what the body was. It's a fireplace. Could the murderer have entered through here? That wouldn't be possible. The chimney is far too narrow. Even a small child wouldn't be thin enough to fit through it. A bookshelf filled with books. I wonder what kind of books he owned. Wait a minute. They're all blank. He's a fraud. All his real books are on the floor or his desk. A window. Could the murderer have escaped through here? No, the window doesn't open, and the glass is magically reinforced. Books about economics. Doesn't look like there's anything of note. It's a painting of some sort of scholar. Rook resign. Yeah. Economic scholar and aristocrat accountant. Known in some circles as Rook the Cook, due to his ability to cook the books of the four-pillar houses. So I can only assume the nobility's like, hey, it's Rook? Okay, let him cook. Sorry, I can't speak too loud. My mom will beat my ass. It's like 3 AM right now, so you know. Rook the Cook. Sometimes I wish I could have a nickname like that. What about Crimson Demon? Not that one. Can't be picky with those. Come on. You entered the storage room, hoping to investigate the air vent that leads to Lord Frega's study. When you come across a person laying on the floor. But what? Jan? Ah, man. What's with all the noise? Hey, looks like you found a job real quick. I was having such a good nap too. Mr. Hughes? Whoa, it's you two. Why are you taking a nap in the storage room? I needed to take a break from all the chaos going on. The King's Guard won't let us leave until they finish investigating. And the pompous noble shooed me away when I tried sleeping on one of the couches. Didn't expect anyone to find me here. Anyways, the prosecutor told us you heard the murder. You think you could tell us what happened? Sure. My nap's kinda ruined anyways. Man, I never thought I'd see you two again. Trouble seems to follow you everywhere you go. I think it's more that we tend to follow trouble wherever it appears. Yeah, because you totally expected to see it at school, and a ballroom, and a childhood town. Yeah, man. You follow it, sure. So you're working as a caterer now? A caterer now? Not directly, but I'm on their cleaning staff. The twins started their own food business right after Frega threw us out of the academy. Right, sorry about that. Nah, it's not your fault. Even if Redmond was still the headmaster, the board would have found some other way to get rid of us. Wait, so they're here too? Not at the moment. They just lent some staff to Lord Frega for the Lord's Ball. I think a bunch of other companies are doing the same thing. I wonder how they feel about this. They lent the services to the very man who got them fired in the first place. Lord Frega must have offered them a lot of gold. So you're working as a servant now? Okay, saw that. Yep. Man, I can't believe I got myself into another murder investigation. Do I have bad luck or something? Maybe, actually. The prosecutor told us that you heard the altercation through the air vents. Could you tell us exactly what you heard? Well, I didn't hear everything. I was taking a nap. Why were you napping here? Didn't have a choice. I accidentally closed the door when the lock was engaged. Before I knew it, I was trapped. Right. Steven did mention that. Anyways, I heard the sound of some kind of struggle going on. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Lord Frege shout, "Who are you? What do you want?" That went on for a few seconds, and I heard someone getting stabbed. Did you hear the voice of the assailant? They didn't say anything, but I did hear them. The voice is really raspy. I think they had a sore throat. Or they were trying to mask their voice. Huh. Okay. Why did you enter the storage room? The servants were complaining about rats running through their air vents, so they sent me to take care of it. Heard one of them running into the air vents upstairs, and I followed it here. Figured it had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up and put the trap down. After I was done, I tried to leave, but the door was locked. Didn't have anything else to do, so I slept. Huh. He only heard a few words before the murderer struck the final blow. Doesn't give you much to work on, but it could be relevant later. Okay, move somewhere else. Ah, a ladder. It's a step ladder. I agree. That is the most random interaction. Like, oh, it's a step ladder. It's like, yes. Okay. It's just so dumb. Okay, gotta focus. It's an air vent. Supposedly, okay, yeah.
Repario Arcanum.
Okay, no magic. No reason to be here. Let's go. Come on, Tracker, where are you? Achoo! As you enter the room, you're unexpectedly met with a large cloud of dust. Wow, this place has not been cleaned. Oh? Your vision clears up, and you realize there's someone else in the room. Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. No, there's no need to apologize. Hey, you're Leif! But I would like to know what you're doing here. Again, you look adopted. Or you must be the odd middle child, I don't know. We're here on the behalf of the Crown Prince. We're investigating the murder. Oh, I see. My apologies, I didn't quite get your name. My name is Leif. Leif Frege. So this is Leif. According to Steelwind, she was the last person to see him alive. She must have some information about how he was acting that night. Even after being blinded, Beatrice continued to fight for her freedom. Despite everything that's happened to her, she's really always remained determined to live her life on her own terms. I remember when she came back to the estate after her accident, my father was convinced she'd be completely hopeless without her sight. But she refused to let her blindness define her. She learned how to navigate the estate using her other senses and continued to study magic. Sounds a lot like Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's ironic, really. My father tried to use her disability as a way to control her, but in the end, it's the very thing that allowed her to break free. Huh. Again, sounds very much like Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, Toph. That man, he was my father, but I can't say I have fond memories of him. He must have been difficult to deal with. You have no idea He was cruel, tyrannical, and only cared about his own legacy. He was willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to maintain his power and status, including his own daughters. Sounds like his treatment of Beatrice was particularly harsh. It was. He never saw her as a worthy successor to our family's legacy, simply because she's a woman. Does he have, like, any sons? Even after her accident, he used her disability as an excuse to strip her of any power she had. I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for you. It was a constant struggle, but we managed to survive. As bad as it sounds, now that he's gone, we might have a chance to rebuild our family. Dang. Harsh. I heard of you. You're the defense attorney that everyone is talking about. Wow, I did not expect you to know who I was. Yeah, what the hell? You look like Goldilocks. Yes, many nobles are uneasy due to your recent actions. It's very clear no one is safe around you. Well, I can't argue against that. Oh. Oh wait. Okay, something about seeing Beatrice. It is. To be honest, I've been hoping for years that she'd finally return. But now that she has, she's just gotten pulled into another of our family's messes. What's your relationship like with Miriam? My youngest sister? I actually don't know her that much. Really? Even though you're sisters? Our lives as nobles keeps us very busy. We rarely have the chance to speak to each other. And since Beatrice fled, she's been throwing herself at her schoolwork. Yeesh. Sorry for your loss, Lady Freyga, but would you mind if I ask you some questions? Of course. Prosecutor Steelman told us you were present, that you were the last person to see him alive. Did you notice anything unusual about his behavior? He was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during their meeting. The servant said he wanted to be left alone. He retreated into his study immediately after their meeting. I tried to speak with him when the theft was reported, but he didn't care much about the missing artifact. He told me to leave him alone and let the Kingsguard investigate the sword. He was probably busy making changes to his will. Now that's an interesting thought. When did you speak with him last? It was before they activated the lockdown. Little after 1 AM. Any idea what he was doing in his study? What? Dang. Actually doesn't look too bad. No, I have no idea. You detect fear from her. I know I love the smell of fear, but she's a good person, so... you know. Lady Freyga with Triumphs of Sega. Anything you're hiding? It's important we know about your father's actions before his death. I'm sorry, I don't know anything else. My father's a private man. I didn't share much with anyone, even his own family. I wish I could help more, but I really don't know anything else. I refuse to believe that's why he was killed. Ah, she's holding something back. Ah, if you could reveal what she's hiding through an argument, she might be more willing to cooperate. But you need more information about William and his will first. Okay, in the meantime, you should figure out what else she knows. I noticed this room has been cleaned recently. Why? It's because I've forbidden the servants from cleaning this room. And why'd you do that? Beatrice was... is very dear to me, and I can't bear having her room disturbed after she left. This room's the only memory I have of her after she left. I suppose it makes sense. She must have been holding on to the hope she would return. And what about the sword of spell eating? Do you know how it ended up here? I'm not sure. It's possible someone planted it here to frame Beatrice. I can't say why they chose this room though. What kind of person was your father? Well, everything but happy thoughts. Doesn't seem like he was very beloved. My father's a complicated man. He was a brilliant scholar and businessman, but he was a cold and distant father. I see. Did he have any enemies? As the head of House Freyga, he controlled nearly every banking house in Wyvengard. There are many people who resented his wealth and power. Remember anyone specific? Maybe someone he slighted recently? Ah, Leloid, the ruling lord of Oranax? Yes, I heard he was recently involved in a court case. My father has been using the controversy as an opportunity to slowly take control of Leloid Industries. And from what I heard, he's extremely bitter about it. Ah, Leloid's reputation must have taken a hit after the trial. I doubt he'd get involved in another murder. But you're never too sure. You'll want to speak with him and get more details. Although, would he even consider cooperating with you? Anyways, any other enemies he might have had? No, none I know of. What can you tell me about Beatrice Freyga? I heard she ran away 5 years ago. Before she left, she was one of the most powerful mages I've ever seen. She was incredible. At the age of 18, her talents for magic had even eclipsed my father's. But it was never enough for him. What do you mean? Before my mother died, he desperately wanted a son, but he only ever had daughters. Everyone thought that Beatrice would inherit House Freyga, but our family knew the truth. William Freyga would never leave his legacy in the hands of a woman. What? No matter how hard she tried, my father would never acknowledge her accomplishments. He was extremely cruel to her, constantly belittled her achievements, and dismissed everything and anything she said to him. And after the accident, he used her disability as an excuse to... Okay, yeah, that part we know. There was an accident that gave her a disability? Is that why she's blind? If it's not too painful for you, could you tell me more about this accident? Is this even relevant? Probably. Could make a difference. I'm not sure about exactly what happened, but it was an experimental magic gone wrong. Beatrice was working on a project at the Imperial Academy. She was trying to create a new spell formula. Still not sure what happened, but there was an adverse magical reaction. The resulting explosion severely injured her and left her completely blind. Can't imagine how she must have taken that like a champ. Actually, she was probably the most unfazed by what happened. But that didn't matter. My father saw his opportunity. He told me he was relieving her of her duties so that she could recover. But I knew the truth. He was going to take away her political power and social standing. She was reduced to a mere decoration of our home. And that must have been why she left. Did she contact you during the time she was missing? No, no one had heard from her during that time. But as much as I worried for her, I was also a little happy. Unlike Miriam and I, she had finally broken free from my father. I have no idea what would cause her to return here. Huh? Okay, I guess there's more. It's a highly extravagant bed. It looks similar to the one in Miriam's dorm. Okay, dresser covered in dust. Okay, touching ears. Dang. Table for guests. Huh.
Repario Arcanum.
Ooh? There's a trace of transmutation magic under the bed. Can't see it clearly. Let me take a closer look. It's Crimson Lotus. What? It's my sword. What? Why are you scared? Got anything to hide? You never knew her sword had a name. I mean, she is known as the Crimson Demon, and she likes lotus juice. Is that why? So this is where it's been. But why would it be here? This is also the room where they found the Sword of Spell Eating. Are the two thefts related somehow? But why? The only thing similar about them is that they're both swords. There's definitely more to this. But why? You think you learned everything you can for now. Okay, I should move somewhere else before I get back into an argument with you. You explore the manor further and find one of its many sitting rooms. And there you happen to— oh shoot. Lloyd? He's sipping on a glass of wine and his expression turns disdainful the moment you enter the room. Oh, wonderful. As if my day couldn't get any worse. Lloyd, what are you doing here? The head of the noble house had just been murdered. I can't very well return to Oranax when my affairs are in such disarray. Anyways, forget about why I'm here. What are you doing here? Oh, just wanted to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite noblemen to dunk on. I heard that you've been keeping busy since we last met. Must have been difficult losing your empire to House Freyga. Tyrion, we do need his help. Is that so? What makes you think I'd ever help the likes of you? Because it takes suspicion off of you. Now let's face it, with your reputation, you could use all that. How dare you? I'll have you know I'm still a respected member of society. Sure. Respected? Is that why everyone is talking about your hand in Justin Way's death? Because the way I see it, being involved in another scandal would destroy what little remains of your reputation. But it makes no difference to me, and to be perfectly honest, I'd like nothing more than to drag you onto the stand and embarrass you a second time. Heh, you can practically hear him grinding his teeth together. Very well. If it means I won't have to endure your presence any longer, I'll oblige. William Freyga, even in death, he's a pain in my arse. At least now he won't meddle in my affairs. Ugh. I really hoped I'd seen the last of you in Oranax. And I really hope you're not involved in what happened to William Freyga. Please, as if I'd even humor such preposterous accusations. Ugh, you and that woman. You two do nothing but weave chaos into the nobility. With how you aristocrats abuse your power I'll take that as a compliment. Humph, as usual, the Steelwind brat is sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. I'll take it you're not a fan of House Steelwind? Hardly. Those brutes have no place in our civilized kingdom. Yet, I can't help but feel like you'd never say that to their face. Oh, wait, the suspect. What? She's your client? Surely you would know her better than I do. Humor me. Well, I'm sure you're aware she fled the Freyga estate 5 years ago. In doing so, she not only dealt a blow to House Freyga's reputation, but she also directly insulted the Crown Prince by breaking her engagement with him. Wait, Beatrice was engaged to Aster? Yes, it was quite a scandal at the time. And Lucio wasted no time in forcing his daughter into taking Beatrice's place. Oh, is that why those three were so awkward last night? Honestly, the situation is just an absolute mess. And that woman's return just complicates things. What does that mean? It means it complicated things. Oh, Harold's Quarterson? I couldn't care less about that quack's personal affairs. He can find financial aid elsewhere. A life. I'm sure she'll use William's death as another excuse to further avoid obligations. She just lost her father. What's wrong with you? William Freyga may be dead, but his daughters must carry out their roles, lest their house's reputation suffers. Is that all you care about? The reputation of the noble houses? What about justice for William Freyga? Justice. Justice is an illusion for you commoners to cling on, but for us, justice is simply a favorable outcome. The Freyga family has always been influential, but with William's death, their power has diminished. And with life's reluctance to fulfill her duties, the Freyga name will continue to suffer. You're absolutely despicable. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. Mess? I would think that you'd have much to gain from this. On the surface level, yes, but it's more complicated than that. As Freyga controls the banking houses, they are the main pillar of support for the Wyvengard economy. William's death could have unimaginable economic consequences regardless of who inherits his house. I wouldn't be stupid enough to be involved in something like this. That remains to be seen. Humph, think as you will. There are others who would benefit from Freyga's death. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. Okay. Think as you will. Okay. You mentioned there are other people who would benefit? Who? If I had to venture a guess, Lucio Steelwind benefits the most. You mean the prosecutor's father? But you just said that Lady Freyga's death could have unimaginable consequences for the economy. Ha! Do you think the brute cares about the Wyvengard's economy? No. All that man cares about is power. Pure and physical power. Like Virgil from Devil May Cry. House Steelwind and House Freyga has been fighting for control of Wyvengard for generations. And in this long-lasting era of peace, the Steelwind's military has become far less valuable to the crown. If it weren't for Lady Steelwind's engagement to the Crown Prince, they might not even be considered a pillar family anymore. The death of William Frege is probably exactly what Steelwind could have been waiting for. And if our economy were to suffer, it would cause civil unrest. In a scenario like that, the Crown would have to rely on Steelwind's forces to maintain peace and order. Makes sense? But could Arya's father really be involved with this? Maybe. It's clear that you think Lucio Steelwind could have much to gain from this. Anyone else though? Well, Harold Squarson. That can't be his real name. But why would Mr. Haroldson? But what would he gain from this? But what I heard, he's planning to defund the Hall of History. Really? Why would he do that? I'm not sure about the specifics, but supposedly, Lord Haroldson has refused to omit the less flattering parts of Isengard's history from his exhibits. It's got him blatant enough that he's drawn the ear to the king himself. They actually got into a heated argument during the Lord's Ball about it. I heard that William declared he'd be removing House Haroldson from his estate. Huh. Interesting. As a curator, he would have the easiest access to the Sword of Spell-Eating, and he could have staged a robbery to cover his tracks. At the very least, you could give him a chance to explain himself. What can you tell me about the defendant? Oh, okay, yeah. And that woman, sir. Okay, yeah. Do you think Beatrice's return will be inconvenient for you? What are you on about now? Please, don't insult my intelligence, Lloyd. Fine, if you must know, my son was arranged to marry William's daughter, Leif. Leif? Since Beatrice showed no signs of returning, it was apparent Leif would inherit House Frege instead of her. I know when my days are numbered, so I took preemptive action. William wanted a male heir, and I needed to preserve my house, so we both came to an accord. My son and Leif were arranged to be wed. House Lloyd would have been absorbed, but at least my Jaden would stand at the helm of House Frege. You nobles are absolutely awful. I should consider myself lucky. Think of it as you will. I don't expect a poor person to understand. Damn. That's the problem with your generation. You have no sense of obligation or duty. Leif has already expressed resistance to this marriage, even though she was well aware of the details. Now I worry she'll hide behind her sister to end the engagement altogether. Leif never mentioned any of this. As much as you hate to think of it, William's death would get her out of this arranged marriage. You should talk to her about this. Okay? Anyways, Lloyd gave you a list of suspects. You'll probably learned everything you can from him. Okay, let's move. After I see this stuff, is the doors at least at the hallway? Perhaps I should have considered locking it to keep out undesired guests. Screw you. Ah, fake books. There's a painting of some adventurers in a tavern. Must have been Beatrice Frege the First. Looks like something out of Final Fantasy or Octopath Traveler if you ask me. The First? According to legend, she was one of the descendants of the 7 heroes of Isengard. She joined a band of adventurers that were traveling across the nation. It's hard to imagine the Freges coming from such humble beginnings. Hey, What? What was it now? That muscular man in the corner. He just vanished. What are you on about? There was never a man there. Sorry, Tyrion, but he's right. No! I'm sure he was there. Are you feeling okay? Perhaps your lack of sleep is making you see things. Or it's Ares. That... Ugh. Hey, I have no choice. Let's start the beef. Is there something you're not telling us, Leif? Because I have a feeling you know more than you're letting on. But what? What was your father doing in his study? I already told you. I don't know. I have no idea what my father was doing. Okay, yeah. That was the answer. He was making some sort of change in his will, wasn't he? What? Did someone else tell him? Why did you find the need to hide this from us? I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, okay? I'm sure you're a nice person. But you gotta do what you gotta do. The thoughts you saw earlier seem to disagree with that. We only just met today, so I understand if you don't trust us. But the Inquisition thinks that Beatrice murdered your father, and they claim she did it for his inheritance. That's absurd! Regardless, your father's inheritance is likely a motive behind his murder. Many people would have a lot to gain from his death, including you. Excuse me? I was not involved in this. How could you even think I'm capable of doing something like this? Okay, I don't mean to imply that you were involved in this, but it's clear the murderer's motive was to take control of House Frege. This means their plan heavily relied on who William Frege was leaving his assets to. Ooh. So I need to know, how was your father planning to change his will? I don't know. I was never aware of the details. He never shared the details of his estate with me. Is that really true though? What? I already know about your arranged marriage with Jaden von Sanctus. And I also know that was part of his deal. Jaden would inherit House Frege instead of you. Ooh, you definitely knew about this, and you heavily resisted the marriage in an attempt to stall it. Which means you had some idea of how your father's will was arranged. So why aren't you telling me? What aren't you telling me? I can't trust you. What? You're here on behalf of Crown Prince Aster. The Four Pillars and the Crown have much to gain from my father's death. How can you assure me this information won't be used against my family? So that's why she's been so secretive. Please work. Okay, it worked. There's nothing I can possibly say to make you trust me. But understand, I'm only trying to find out who murdered your father. And to do that, I need to know everything he was doing that night. Yay. I have no reason to trust you, but somehow I can tell you're being sincere. Will you please protect Beatrice? You're about to reassure her you will, but something in the back of your mind stops you. I'll get to the truth of what really happened. Okay, if that's truly what you're planning to do, I'll tell you what I know. wasn't trying to be uncooperative, but I didn't know who I could trust. Considering the circumstances, that's understandable. I'm not sure why, but my father was extremely upset that night. According to him, Beatrice had returned and was even more impudent than before. He must have been angry about something she said during their meeting. Did he tell you what their meeting was about? He didn't, and I honestly didn't care. I was just so happy my sister returned. But my father clearly felt the opposite. Before he entered his study, he told me he would be pruning the family tree. He was going to disinherit my sister and several other family members of our family. He probably started drafting a new will to reflect that decision. Ooh. Has anyone found the draft of his will? No. It was one of the first things I looked for after the investigation began. The modified will is missing? You doubt that it would even be enforced. He never got a chance to submit it for probate before he died. But you can't discount the possibility the murderer destroyed it. Did anyone else? 4 a.m. Come on. Don't do this to me now. Did anyone else know about this? No one. I didn't even tell Lady Steelwind when she was questioning me. Because it would have given Beatrice a motive to commit the murder? Anyways, thank you. Mr. Cuthbert. Yes? My sister is not a bad person. There's no way she would do something like this. Despite what she says, she seems to have some doubts. She's in good hands. Ruby Tamora is the one defending her in the trial after all. I hope so. Anyways, you think you've learned everything you can from Leaf. Okay, Harold Harrelson. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it here. It's like 4 a.m. And I predict like after the questioning of Harold Squareson is gonna move on to the trial or more questioning of more people. So it's gonna be a long episode next time. Well, yeah, Leif looks low-key adopted, man. Yeah. Honestly, not much for this episode. It's pretty okay-ish, I guess. I mean, I can see this. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. Honestly, it's pretty okay-ish. But something does tell me it's either Harold Harrelson or Leif. But, you know, it's probably Harrelson. Because he's being defunded. He has access. So yeah, it does seem like it. Harold, I'm coming for your ass. This is what you get for doing crimes. Anyway, with that being said... Ah boy, my brain's dying. Okay. Thank you for watching my playthrough of Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. If you like what you see, stay tuned and stay awesome. Good night.